Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Burrows, and I am the team leader for the Tech Commercialization team. Over the past 3 months, I have had the privilege of working alongside Suri, Oyen, Tanaka, and Prakat, who are 4 brilliantly minded individuals. To say that our project had a few pivots over the semester would be an understatement. However, it was my pleasure and my joy to watch the team maintain and uphold a stance of a willingness to adapt at every single point. Yes, I think I can confidently say that we have all become morning persons given our 7 a.m. meetings, sometimes occurring 3 times per week, whether that was meeting for our team meetings or whether we were updating clients or staff at biweeklies. I would like to take this time to thank our staff, including both directors and fellows, and I want to highlight Sue and Felipa for their immense wisdom and extra time that they have poured into our team to make sure that we were fully equipped at every point. I would also like to extend thanks and gratitude to our amazing clients for entrusting us with this project. I am very pleased with the work that the team has done, and I can assure you that the informed set of recommendations which they have made does not fall short of excellence. I will truly miss Sari's love for brain teasers. I will miss Tanaka's critical eye for design, Prakat's insane skills to do quick maths, and Oyen's willingness to answer the hard questions, and her ability to manage both the internship and completing her thesis. Congratulations to her as she is graduating this December. Yes. And at this time, without further ado, I would like to hand it over to the Fall 2021 Tech Commercialization team. Thank you.
Hello everyone, we are the Tech Commercialization team in which we commercialize new and innovative technology. This semester, it is our privilege to work with Dr. Townsend and Dr. Dedamore from LIFA Biotech on their product BoneLink, a bone void filler that is used in cranial procedures. This semester, our team leader is Jennifer Burrows and our fellow is Felipa Carvalho. My name is Siri Naguri and I am a sophomore pursuing a degree in chemical biosciences.
My name is Oyen. I'm a graduate student pursuing a degree in data science and analytics.
My name is Tanaka. I'm a junior studying economics in MIS.
And my name is Prakyat, and I'm a sophomore studying MIS.
This semester, our team identified that LIFA Biotech can make the biggest impact in both alveolar cleft and jaw reconstruction surgery market, which represents a $40 million market size and consists of over 15,000 patients. To effectively reach these patients, we've determined key manufacturing protocols as well as devised a financial plan that gives LIFA Biotech over $5 million within its 5th year of launching, considering a 3.5% annual growth rate. For this project, we've also consulted with over 50 experts in both healthcare and business professions whose insights help create a business model that gives LIFA Biotech the most success. As complex as they seem, craniofacial voids, or holes in the skull, can greatly impact a patient's physical, mental, and social well-being. Patients undergo severe stress, considering how painful daily activities such as eating, breathing, and sleeping can be for them. Dr. Marcus from Duke Hospital has also stated that no matter how minimally invasive a surgery might seem, patients have to walk out of the hospital with almost 3 weeks of just pure pain. On top of this, patients also have to undergo stress due to misjudgment and mistreatment for the voids that they may have. Craniofacial voids can occur either through traumatic incidences or be caused by birth. Traumatic incidences cause up to 35,000 cranial voids per year, where patients would have to undergo procedures like craniotomy or jaw reconstruction surgery. On the other hand, almost 5,000 babies are born with alveolar clefts, where they would have to get bone grafting procedures to get this treated. Now, the bone void fillers that surgeons are currently using to treat these patients pose many issues. Firstly, they can be expensive, costing up to $3,000 for a single use, while only promoting little to no bone regeneration and have slow setting rates. Because of these slow setting rates, the void may not be filled with the filler and the filler might migrate away. Dr. Andrews from Iowa State Center stated that alloplastics procedures or bone void fillers cause 5 times as many infections as using the patient's own bone cells do. However, using the patient's own bone cells can require creating an additional surgical site on the patient's body, which can increase their overall healing time. Considering all of these factors, BoneLink was created to be the solution that could combat all of these issues that both patients and hospitals were facing in this market. Firstly, BoneLink is on average $2,000 less than other bone void fillers, while also having as much regeneration as 80%. BoneLink also sets 13 minutes faster than other bone void fillers, while also guaranteeing its place within the void. And lastly, patients who use BoneLink would not have to get in other additional surgical site and can lessen their overall healing time. Now that we've taken a look into the overall market issues and how BoneLink can address them, let's take a closer look into how the technology works.
BoneLink has distinctive properties that differentiate it from the other bone void fillers that are on the market. Some of the major parts of BoneLink is the pentanoic hyaluronic acid and also the thiolated demineralized bone matrix. These two properties of BoneLink helps with the BoneLink bone regeneration. And this helps BoneLink to go through the process of osteoinduction, which is converting the bone void filler into the patient's own bone. And also, BoneLink sets in 1 to 2 minutes. The reason why BoneLink is able to do this is because of the UV lights that are used in BoneLink. The UV lights helps photocross-linking, which is the formation of covalent bond between the void and also the patient's own bone. And also, in addition to the efficiency of BoneLink, BoneLink also has very good aesthetic properties, which means that after the BoneLink has been put into the patient's void, it looks very good and it promotes very smooth surgical area. Now that we've spoken about the technology of BoneLink, we're now going to talk about the ideal markets that we targeted for BoneLink. During the research that we did into BoneLink specific markets, we looked at 6 different markets and were able to identify clefts, alveolar cleft, and the jaw reconstruction market as the initial phase that BoneLink would go into. In the later phase approach, we look for BoneLink to go into the craniotomy market. The 3 markets we identified have a total market size of $40 million. According to Dr. Tenwaya at the OU Health Center, we see that more than 90% of surgeons actually use autografting for the surgeries that they do. And this is because of the high bone regeneration that autografts have. But in recent research that is currently being done, we see that many surgeons are trying to move towards bone morphogenic proteins. And this is because bone morphogenic proteins have some bone regeneration, but not as high as the patient's own bone. And in addition to this, BMPs also have high risk for cancer when used in patients. And this is why many surgeons are not willing to move towards this. Autografting are very expensive, they are painful, and then they require multiple surgeries. And the major needs for the particular market we're looking at is high structural strength, high material retention, and also high bone regeneration. This is where BoneLink comes into this market, as BoneLink is able to fit into the need that this requires here. And this is according to Dr. Sylvan and Dr. Smith at the OU HSC. In addition to this, for BoneLink to actually be used by any surgeon at all, it has to be FDA cleared. What this means is that BoneLink has to show that it can work as well as any other bone void fillers that is currently on the market. And this market of alveolar cleft and jaw reconstruction market actually requires just FDA clearance. But the craniotomy market, according to most of the surgeons we spoke to, will require BoneLink to have FDA approval. The FDA approval is another path that BoneLink can go to, but it takes way more time. It takes like 9 years, and it's also very expensive. So this is a place that BoneLink can do later on along the years if they decide to do that. Now that we have identified the ideal markets, the ideal initial markets for BoneLink to be jaw reconstruction and alveolar cleft, we'll now look at the distinctive properties that BoneLink have in this market against their competitors.
Thank you very much, Oyen. Now, what we understood from all the interviews that we had with different surgeons and key medical personnel in the medical device industry was the fact that for any medical device to be successful, it needs to have certain key features that distinguish it from its competitors. And for bone void fillers, these key features are material retention, natural bone regeneration, quick setting time, and also cost effectiveness. For the first two, that is material retention and natural bone regeneration, we notice that, as we can see on the matrix, that only Lefa Biotech and Medtronic's Infuse have these features. This is because, as previously mentioned, Lefa Biotech has a cross-linking technology that allows this to happen, whilst Medtronic's Infuse contains bone morphogenetic protein, which is BMP, as previously mentioned, that promotes bone growth. The other three, J&J's DBX, Stryker's Hydroset, and also 3D Native's 3D implants, do not have this because they are all synthetic. When it comes to the setting time, all these products have quick setting time. However, BoneLink has the fastest, which is 1 to 2 minutes, whilst the others have a setting time of an average of 10 to 15 minutes. When it comes to the cost effectiveness, we notice that Medtronic's Infuse and 3D Native's 3D implants do not have this. This is because Medtronic's Infuse can be sold for $3,000 going up, whilst 3D Native's 3D implants can be sold anywhere from $1,000 going up, depending on the surface area they're used on and the number of screws. And then the other three which are cost effective are all sold for an average of $1,000, whilst BoneLink is the cheapest that can be sold from $500 to $1,000. And with these competitive advantages, we decided to draft a business model to see how we could sell or how we could turn these advantages to profit and sales for Lefa Biotech. And this is the business model that we drafted to sell 1 unit of BoneLink to the end user, which is the hospitals. Now, firstly, before BoneLink can begin producing, it needs to have certain conditions that it meets. And this includes the manufacturer registration and also the FDA clearance. Once this is done, production can then begin. And in production, there are certain costs involved. This is the storage, packaging, quality testing, and also the cost to pay a distributor. And for distributors, they are paid anywhere from 25% to 40% commission. But since Lefa Biotech is a smaller company, it will have to pay somewhere in the upper end, so 40%, for example. And once we calculate all those costs, once we sum them up, we came up with the cost of goods sold with the production and also the distribution costs of $555. And for the distributor, the type of distributor that we were going for is a third-party distributors as recommended by the interviewees that we had. They all recommended that a third-party distributor is efficient for a company such as Lefa Biotech. And also, the type of third-party distributor that we'll be looking at is a 1099 distributor. 1099 distributors are independent sales distributors that have sales reps. And these sales reps have relationships with hospitals and clinics and other facilities. And these sales reps are responsible for marketing Lefa Biotech's BoneLink to the end user, which is the hospitals. Now, once our product is marketed, once Lefa Biotech's product is marketed to the end users, which is the hospitals, then there are 2 processes involved that have to happen at the hospital. This includes the surgeon vouching for the product, that is, they have to recommend it, and also the purchasing committee at the hospital has to see if they have the funds for this product. And once these 2 processes or these conditions are met, then Lefa Biotech's BoneLink is sold for $1,000 and they make a net profit of $445. Now that we've seen how efficient a third-party distributor could assist Lefa Biotech in this business model, we'll now look at the financial implications of implementing this business model.
Thank you, Tanaka. And I will now further explain the financial modeling that we've done for Lefa Biotech. Our biggest takeaway, as you can see, is that Lefa Biotech would be able to make a profit of $5.6 million by its 5th year of commercial operations. By this, it is essentially since Lefa Biotech starts sales of BoneLink. Now, in order to come up with our financial modeling, we've done model inputs that are based on a few key assumptions, which helped us make our profit and loss forecasting. And for our model inputs, the key assumptions that we went with were that there would be an initial demand of 15,000 units. This is based on the market research the team has done, as well as interviews with hospitals and doctors that gave us an understanding of their likeliness to switch to a product of BoneLink's properties. The second assumption is that the initial cost would be set at about $1,000 per unit, as this would keep it competitively priced with other bone void fillers, while having healthy margins. And lastly, the annual growth rate would be set at 3.5%, and this is a conservative estimate based on the entire market, which is set to grow at 7%, but BoneLink will initially only target the craniofacial segment and the 2 procedures within it. And as you can see from the chart over here, in its first year, it is set to make $15 million, and that amount grows by 40% to $21 million by its 5th year. And the profit is also set to almost double from the first year to the fifth. And a few of the other assumptions that we've made are the licensing agreement that LIFA has with OU, as well as payroll and the royalties that it's expected to pay. And in order to make a successful entry to the market, the next steps will be very crucial for LIFA Biotech. So in its first year, it should prepare for the FDA pre-submission, and for this, it would need a quality management system as well as intellectual property filings. By its second year, it should be ready for the FDA clearance application, which involves a regulatory approval, and then it can start building partnerships with players such as quality assurance and distributors. By the third year, it is set to be in a position to make a commercial operations, which involves entry into the alveolar cleft and jaw reconstruction market, and it can start tracking important metrics, which will help it boost sales. And from the fourth year onwards, it can prepare for expansion by designing trials for the craniotomy market, as well as consider the FDA approval track. And lastly, once the company matures, it is in a position to seek licensing and acquisition opportunities. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and we would like to open the floor to questions. Okay.
You showed the commercial operation starting year 3, but you showed a net profit in year 1. Can you explain, is the year 1 actually the first year when commercial operations start? And did you model out what kind of losses would be incurred until you started getting kind of sales out to the market and start building the revenue?
Okay, so in terms of the financial modeling, it is set to start with the first year of commercial operations. And in order to get to this stage, the company needs to undergo the FDA clearance process, which is its first priority. And that can range from anywhere from $30,000 to $150,000, which many medical technology companies like LIFA generally go through a grants process to receive funds for such activities. Okay.
How many interviews we're able to get? Yeah, so for both the market and the business model, we got about over 50 interviews for this project. I don't think I.
So there are definitely a lot of questions that we could ask to other bone void filler companies that are just starting their commercial operations right now to see how their financial plans have been going, how their business runs, and if we could, or if LIFA Biotech could learn a little bit more about that. So that's definitely some people who we would love to contact for further information.
Okay.
The question is regarding talking to specific 3D implant companies. So we chose them based on what the other cranial facial surgeons are using. Most of them did mention certain companies such as Stryker, Medtronic, and 3D Natives, and so that's how we decided to talk to them specifically. So just considering how many people, how many surgeons are using a particular product, and then talking to them more about it.
Okay, we have time for one last question. Okay, Felipa?
The question is regarding potential markets for in craniofacial uh, procedures, as well as veterinary uses, spinal fusions, and certain rhinoplasty procedures. So these are all considered potential markets for Lefa Biotech to enter. However, each market does have their own guidelines. So for example, if Lefa Biotech wanted to enter into spinal fusions, Dr. Martin from OUHSC actually said that he would love to implement a product like BoneLink. However, he would also like to see human trials conducted for spinal fusion specifically. So while there are many potential markets, there could be additional costs before entering it.